Welcome to Module 2, Introduction to Online Teaching. For this module, we have 3 objectives and 1 outcome. Objective 1, differentiate between distance learning modalities. Objective 3, use learning theory and research-based strategies to create and communicate expectations for students at the beginning of an online course. And Objective 4, navigate at least one commonly used LMS environment, including account and profile settings. Our outcome that we're focusing on is, upon successful completion of the course, the student will be able to create a basic online course or course shell using a current LMS that has evidence of research-based effective student-to-student, student-to-instructor, and student-to-content contact. Well, we're not going to do all of that, but we're going to start to pick apart at that outcome. So we're going to focus on different types of contact as we progress through this module. So in this module, you'll probably find it helpful to review Reflection 1, and this module should be completed by Monday, 6/22. So here's our contents for the module. You'll see you have a discussion. So this is the graded piece. And then the I means for your information. Okay? The rest of it are pages, content, interactive content in some cases that will help you prepare for the reflection and the discussion. Remember, there is no required textbook. I do provide some files of supplemental reading, and then I also provide a Google Doc with some other links. And then there's an optional textbook. That's where there's some really good ideas from that. It's a little bit dated, so take it with a grain of salt, right? It's free with Kindle Unlimited or $4.99 on Kindle. So the first page is types of online learning environments. All right, so we're looking at online learning. How does that differ from distance ed? And how does that differ from correspondence ed? Okay. There are what are called quick checks. So in between some of the chunks, you'll be asked a question, and you have to answer those questions correctly to move to the next page. We look at different types of fully online, and then we look at partially online options. So notice, because I haven't answered them, I'm getting that warning, so you do have to answer these correctly to be able to press the next button. All right, so here we go. I opened the next button for me. Now I'm at setting expectations. There are a lot of expectations. Don't get overwhelmed. I'm running through several of them. We're going to focus on them as we move through the course. And you'll see the first week welcome message. So you'll be posed some questions as you read this. Just think about the questions, jot your notes down, pacing, interactions, communication, feedback, your calendar, and then of course you'll have the quiz check. So again, please don't feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of questions you're being asked. These are just the things that you'll want to think about, and as we go through the course, we'll make sure we practice the tools and learn the theories to help us get some solid answers to those questions. So after you pass that quick check, you'll be brought to communication tools. Now this one might be familiar, right? Because most of you experienced some kind of online format in spring 2020. So I'm just listing the different types of communication and then how often you want to communicate. Introductions. You practiced an introduction to the orientation. Introductions are important to start to cultivate a community, right? We want students to interact. We want students to feel comfortable interacting with their instructor. And so introductions are a way to start that. We want to make sure the introductions are humanized. So that's why for this one, you're going to be asked to make sure you have a profile picture. So over here in the profile picture part, all right, mine already has one. It's a Bitmoji. You'll click account, profile, and then that little pencil to change your picture. You can upload one, take one right there, or pick from a gravatar. And depending on what device you're on, it'll give you some random symbols or panda. So after you set up your profile pic, if you haven't already, then you'll click the Mark as Done button. The next page will be the discussion. So here are some examples of types of introductions you could use. Some of them are college level, some of them are elementary, everywhere in between. There's even some kindergarten, so you might need to adapt it based on your grade level and discipline, but that's why it's a discussion, so we can help each other think of creative ideas. So here's a discussion. You can watch the video for more on that, but basically you're posting worth 5 points. You're replying to at least 2 classmates for another 5 points. And I've provided an example of a post and 1 good reply example and 1 bad reply example. And then you have your virtual study groups. So this is that information only piece. It's not graded, there's no check on it, but I want to show you if you go to groups, you will have a group listed here. I don't have one because I'm not a student, but you'll be able to see a group for this course. You can also go to the People tab, and then there's a Virtual Study Groups tab. So you might not see all of them, but you can get to your virtual group. You can't do this step easily from a phone. It's easier to do this from a laptop or tablet. Again, it's just for information only purposes right now. I'll explain more how we're going to use the study groups or these small groups in a future module. You can also rearrange groups. I will lock them once we start the project, but for now you can kind of visit each of the groups if you want to get a feel or meet new people. And that is module 2. Let's look at the reflection though. So if I go back to the modules and I scroll all the way to the bottom, I'll see reflection 1. So reflection 1 takes place after you complete module 1. So reflection 1 is modified KWL. So we explain the purpose of reflections, explain traditional KWL charts and how they might be modified, and then you'll see the reflection 1 prompt. So since this is only a 4-week course, we're going to do all of them at the same time. You're going to think of 3 things that you know about online learning based on your experiences previous to this class and what you've done so far through the first 2 modules. 2 things that you still want to know, and then 1 thing that you've learned that you can take with you into your future classroom. Remember, you have 3 options. I always highly recommend the synchronous option because that allows for discussion and it provides you an example of a synchronous online interaction. And then you have options for submitting the assignment if you're unable to attend the synchronous meeting.